जैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Unlawfully accumulated money is now being snatched from miserly citizens by various methods of state taxation for the future civil and international war fund, which is spending money in wasteful and destructive manner. The citizens are no longer satisfied with just enough money to maintain a family nicely and cultivate spiritual knowledge, both of which are essential in human life. Now everyone wants money unlimitedly to satisfy insatiable desires. In proportion to the people's unlawful desires, their accumulated money is taken away by the agents of illusory energy in the shape of medical practitioners, lawyers, tax collectors, societies, constitutions, so-called holy man, famines, earthquakes, and many similar calamities. One miser who hesitated to purchase a copy of Back to God had spent $2,000 for a week's supply of medicine and then died. Another man who refused to spend a cent for the service of the Lord wasted thousands of dollars in a legal suit between the members of his family. There are innumerable similar instances occasioned by the dictation of illusory nature. Indeed, that is the law of nature. If money is not devoted to the service of the Lord, it must be spent as spoiled in the form of legal problems or diseases. Foolish people do not have the eyes to see such facts, therefore, the laws of the Supreme Lord befool them.
The laws of nature do not allow us to accept more money than is required for proper maintenance. There is ample arrangement by the law of nature to provide every living being with his due share of food and shelter, but the insatiable lusts of human beings have disturbed the arrangement set forth by the Almighty Father of all species of life. By the arrangement of the Supreme Lord, there is an ocean of salt because salt is so necessary for the living beings. God has, in the same manner, arranged for sufficient air and light, which are also essential. Anyone can collect any amount of salt from the natural storehouse, but constitutionally we cannot take more salt than what we need. If we take more salt, we spoil the broth, and if we take less salt, our food becomes tasteless. On the other hand, if we take only what we require, our food is tasty and we are healthy. Presently, there is a great deal of concern over the fact that our natural resources are becoming polluted and exhausted. Actually, there is ample supply, but due to misuse and greed, everything is being spoiled. What what conservationists and ecologists do not understand is that everything will continue to be spoiled by the insatiable lusts of mankind unless this Krishna consciousness process is taken up. It is impossible to have peace on any platform of existence without Krishna consciousness.
Man is therefore suffering due to his insatiable desires and lust. Not only is man suffering, but the planet on which he resides, his mother Earth, represented in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the mother cow, is also suffering. Once a well-known Swami in India was asked whether God or Providence is responsible for the sufferings of humanity. The Swami replied that these sufferings were all God's pastimes or Leela. The questioner continued to ask why a living entity should be put under the dictations of the law of karma. The Swami could not answer these questions to the satisfaction of his inquirers. The monist and the impersonalist who think only in terms of the oneness of the living entities with the Supreme Lord cannot give satisfactory answers to such questions. Such an imperfect reply can hardly satisfy the heart of a living entity.
The Lord is described in all scriptures as Leela Purushottam, or the personality of Godhead, who is by who is by his own nature always engaged in transcendental pastimes. In the Vedanta Sutra, he is also described as Anandamayodhyasat. The monists and impersonalists try with great difficulty to explain this sutra in diverse ways in order to support their imperfect theory of oneness and impersonality. However, the fact remains that ananda or pleasure cannot be enjoyed alone. That variety is the mother of enjoyment is a well known fact. Cities, for instance, are known to be attractive if they contain a variety of things. Living beings are naturally attracted by variety, by attractive streets, buildings, cinemas, parks, conveniences, businesses, employments, foodstuffs, etc. Despite all this variety, the English poet Cowper once said, "The city is made by man, but the country is made by God." The countryside is also full of natural um, uh, varietedness in a crude form, whereas the city's varietedness mm, is displayed in a modernized scientific manner. Poets like Cowper are attracted to the varietedness of the country, and prosaic people who live in the city are attracted by the colorful varieties manufactured by men. In any case, it is varietedness which attracts people both to the country and the city. This is the proper explanation of the verse of the Vedanta Sutra.
Many so-called swamis who are so frequently attracted by by the cities often seek a kind of pleasure in society and feminine friendship. Generally, they are not attracted by the natural beauty of the woods, although they may assume the dress of a man who is meant to live in the woods. Such swamis are seeking varieties of enjoyment in matter because they have no information of the varietedness of spiritual life. On the one hand, they enjoy varietedness in matter, and on the other hand, they deny spiritual varietedness to the absolute. Because they are pledged to the theory of monism and impersonalism, they deny that whatever pertains to the matter can pertain also to the spirit. According to them, spirit is the denial of the matter. The fact is, however, that spirit is not negation of matter, but matter is a perverted reflection of spirit.
Hmm. The real pleasure of variety exists in spirit without deluding relativity. Relativity. On the other hand, inert matter, in association with dynamic spirit, manifests a false representation or a perverted reflection of that very spiritual variegatedness, which is so adamantly denied by the monist class of so-called swamis. As stated before, the Supreme Lord is Satchidananda Vigraha, joyful by nature, and therefore expands himself by his different energies, parts, and differentiated plenary portions. The Supreme Lord is the absolute truth, and he is one without a second. But he also includes his diverse energies, parts, and plenary portions, which are simultaneously one with and different from him. Because he is joyful by nature, he expands himself in diverse ways, and the activities of these expansions are called his transcendental pastimes or his lila. These pastimes, however, are not blind and inert. They exhibit full sense, independence, and the freedom of action and reaction. The complexities of the actions and the reactions of the diverse energies of the absolute truth constitute the subject matter of a vast science called the Transcendental Science of God, and the Bhagavad Gita is the ABC, a primary book of knowledge for students interested in that science. Every intelligent human being should become interested in this transcendental science. Indeed, according to the opinions of the sages, human life is only meant for learning this science. The opening words of the Vedanta Sutra proclaim, "Now is the time to inquire about Brahma, Thato Brahma Jityasa."
Human life by nature is full of suffering, and lower forms are even more miserable. Any sane man with properly discriminating senses can understand that life in the material world is full of miseries, and that no one is free from the actions and reactions of such miseries. This is not a pessimistic view of life, but is an actual fact which we should not be blind to. The miseries of life are divided into three categories, namely miseries arising from the body and the mind, miseries arising from other living entities, and miseries arising due to natural calamities. Sane man must look to eliminate these miseries and thereby become happy in life. We are all trying to achieve peace and freedom from these miseries, at least unconsciously. And in the higher intellectual circles, there are attempts to get rid of these miseries by ingenious plans and designs. But the power that baffles all the plans and designs of even the most intelligent person is the power of Maya Devi, or the illusory energy. The law of karma, or the result of all actions and reactions in the material world, is controlled by this all powerful illusory energy. The activities of this energy function according to the principles and regulations, and they act concisely under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Everything is done by nature in full consciousness. Nothing is blind or accidental. This material energy is called Durga, which indicates that it is a force which is very difficult to surpass. No one can surpass the laws of Durga by any amount of childish plans.
To get rid of the sufferings of humanity is simultaneously a very difficult and also a very easy affair. As long as the conditioned souls, who are themselves bound up by the laws of nature, manufacture plans to get rid of the three miseries, there will be no solution. The only effective solution are those mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, and we have to adopt them in our practical lives for our own benefit. The three miseries of material nature are not found in the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. As mentioned before, he is eternally joyful, and his transcendental pastimes are not different from him. Because he is the absolute truth, his name, fame, form, qualities, and pastimes are all identical with him. His pastimes, therefore, cannot be equated with the sufferings of humanity as the so called Swami contends. The pastimes of the Supreme Lord are transcendental to the actual miseries and sufferings of human beings.
The sufferings of humanity are caused by the misuse of the discriminative power or the little independence which is given to the individual souls. The fraudulent swamis or mental speculators, in order to remain consistent with the theory of monism, must pass off the miseries of mankind as the pastimes of God. But actually, these miseries are only the enforced punishments of Maya Devi inflicted upon the misguided conditioned soul.
As living entities, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Indeed, we actually belong to his superior energy. As such, we may join his transcendental pastimes in our unconditioned state of mind, but as long as we are conditioned by the laws of karma in contact with the inferior energy, our sufferings are our own creations, born of a gross misuse of our little independence. The impersonalist monists also the impersonalist monists only misguide people by contending that the threefold miseries are a part of the Lord's pastimes. Such impersonalists and monists have misguided their followers because they incorrectly think that that the Supreme Lord and the individual souls are equal in all respects. True, the individual souls are equal in quality with the Supreme Lord, but not in quantity. If the individual soul are quantitatively equal to the Supreme Lord, he would have never been subjected to the laws of material nature. Material nature is subordinate to the will of the Supreme Lord, and therefore he cannot be subjected to to the laws of material nature. It is contradictory for the Lord to be subjected to the laws of his own inferior energy.
मत्तपरतरं दन्यात् किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय मयि सर्वम् इदं प्रोतं सूत्रे मणिगण इव. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Again, Sri Krishna states, Tripirgunmair bhaivair इभिः सर्वम् इदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानाति माम् एभ्यः param avyayam. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above them and inexhaustible. The individual souls who are put into the sufferings, into the miseries of material world, are suffering the resultant reactions of their unsanctioned activities. This is the verdict of the Bhagavad Gita. Tan aham dvishta क्रूरान् संसारेषु नराधमान् क्षिपामि अजस्रम् अशुभान् अश्रुरीश्व एव योनिषु. Envious, mischievous, the lowest of mankind, these do I ever put back into the ocean of material existence, into various demonic species of life.
The parts and parcels are meant to serve the whole, and when they misuse their independence, they are subject to the miseries of the laws of matter, just as criminals are subject to police action. The state considers its citizens to be its part and parcels, and when a citizen misuses his relative independence, the state puts him under police authority. The life of a citizen outside the prison and the life of a citizen within the prison are not the same. Similarly, the sufferings of the living entities within the prison of material nature cannot be equated with the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, which exist in the absolute freedom of Satchidananda.
No government wants its citizens to act in such a way that they must go to prison and suffer tribulations. The prison house is undoubtedly constructed by the state government, but this does not mean that the government is anxious for its citizens to be put into it. Indirectly, the disobedient citizens force the government to construct a prison house. It is not done for the pleasure of the government, which has to spend a great deal of money in constructing and maintaining it. On the contrary, the government would be very glad to demolish prisons altogether, provided that there are no disobedient citizens in the state. In the same way, this material world is created by the Supreme Lord, but the Supreme Lord does not will that living entities be put in it. The living entities themselves make that decision. The residents of this material world are therefore different from those who are eternally engaged in the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Lord.
The impersonal monists have no information of full-fledged independent life in the eternal spiritual realm. According to them, the spiritual realm is simply void. This is like prisoners thinking that there is no life outside the prison. Life outside of prison is certainly free from prison activities, but is not devoid of activity. The soul is by nature eternally active, but the impersonalists try to negate the activities of the soul in the spiritual realm. Thus, they misunderstand the miseries of the prison life to be the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. This is due to their poor fund of knowledge. The Supreme Lord never creates the actions and reactions of any individual soul. In Bhagavad Gita, this matter is clearly defined in the following ways. Na kartitvam na karmani lokasya srijati prabhu na karma phala samyogam swabhavastu pravartate na datte kasyachit papam na chaiva sukritim vibhuhu ajnanena vratam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavah. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. Nor does the Supreme Spirit assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge.
It is clear from these passages that the sufferings of humanity are not to be equated with the pastimes of the Supreme Being, nor is the Supreme Being responsible for them. The Lord is never responsible for anyone's vices or virtues. The vicious actions we are put into more and more by vicious actions we are put into more and more distressful conditions, whereas by pious actions we place ourselves on the path of happiness. This man is the architect of his own material distress or happiness. The Lord does not want the living entity to become entangled in the reactions of activities, be they good or bad. He simply wants everyone to go back home, back to Godhead. As long as we are not awakened to our pure eternal relation with the Lord, we are certainly bewildered in our actions. Our actions in respect to right or wrong are all performed on the platform of ignorance. We must rise to the platform of pure knowledge, which is the pure realization that we are the eternal servitors of the Supreme Lord and enjoyers of his transcendental pastimes. The Supreme Lord is the master enjoyer of those pastimes, and that we are the servitor enjoyers. Transcendental knowledge is only attainable by transcendental devotional service, as described in the Bhagavad Gita. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam namam upiyanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. By rendering such devotional service only and not by merely acquiring a bulk of discriminative knowledge can we know the Supreme Lord as He is. When we know the personality of Godhead in reality, we can then enter into His pastimes. This is the verdict of all revealed scriptures.
Rebirth toward a peaceful society. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram Mityabhidiyate Etadyo Vedyitam Prahu Kshetragya Iti Tadvidaha. The Supreme Lord said, this body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and no one and one who knows his body is called the knower of the field, Kshetragya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is instructing Arjuna about the knowledge of Kshetra and Kshetragya. Kshetra refers to the field, which is the body, and Kshetrajna refers to the knower of the field, who is the individual soul. If land is to be cultivated, there must be some cultivator, and if this body, which is likened unto a field, is to be cultivated, there must be a proprietor who can cultivate it. Now we have these material bodies, and it is our duty to cultivate them properly. That cultivation is called karma or work. A person may come to a place with a hoe and cultivate land, or he may come to simply drink coffee or tea. We have been given this particular type of body to cultivate and to attain required sense objects according to our desires. This body is a gift from God. God is very kind, and if someone wants something from him, he allows it. All right, he says, take this. This relationship to us is just like the relationship of a father to a son. The son may insist upon getting something from the father, and the father may try to convince him that what he wants is not for his good, saying, my dear son, don't touch this. This is not good for you. But when the boy insists upon it, the father will allow him to have it. The affectionate father gives the son just what he wants. Similarly, the Supreme Father gives his son and daughters just what they want. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that all beings in all species of life are his children. सर्वयोनिषु कौन्तेय मूर्तयः सम्भवन्ति याः तासां ब्रह्म महद्योनिरहं बीजा प्रजापिता. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father.
In this material world, the mother Prakriti, which is material nature, supplies us with the body, and the Supreme Father impregnates this matter with living soul. There is an erroneous theory current that only human beings have souls and that other living entities do not. But we understand from Vedic authority that there are 84 lakh species of life, including plants and trees, and that they all have souls. Otherwise, they would not be able to develop and grow. In this verse, Sri Krishna claims that all living entities, regardless of the forms they take in this material world, are his sons and that they are related to him as a son is related to his father. This Krishna consciousness is especially meant for understanding the position of the soul and its relationship with God. Kshetra Kshetrajnanam chapi mam viddhi sarvakshetreshu bharata kshetrajnanayor yatyaj jnanam matam mama. O son of Bharat, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion.
If we meditate upon this body and study whether or not we are actually the body, actually the body, we will come to the conclusion that we are kshetragya, the knower of the body, but not the body. If we study our finger and consider whether or not we are the finger, we will come to the conclusion that we are not the finger or any other part of the body, but that the finger, the arms, the legs, the head, etc., are are our fingers, arms, legs, etc. In this way, we can come to the conclusion that we are not these bodies, but that the bodies belong to us. Therefore, we say, this is my body. Unfortunately, people in this modern civilization never stop to inquire what they are or who they are. They're simply laboring hard, working hard all day in an office or factory under the impression that I am this body. And if we ask people who they are, they reply, I am Hindu, I am Muslim, I am Swedish, I am American, I am Christian, etc. These are various identifications or designations of the body. But the fact is that we are not these bodies. The body is simply the field of our activities. We are no more the body than the cultivator of a field is the field.
There are different kinds of bodies and different activities in accordance to the different types of bodies. A dog enjoys one kind of activity, a cat enjoys another, and a human being enjoys another. There are differences of activities due to differences of body. When we come to the platform of truth, however, and understand that we are not these bodies, then our activities change from material activities to spiritual activities. As long as we are operating under the bodily conception of life, our activities are material. But as soon as we understand, I do not belong to this body, Aham Brahmasmi, I am spirit soul, and our activities will be in accordance to that realization. That is to say that they will cease to be motivated from the material or bodily platform. Knowledge of our proper identity as separate from the body is real knowledge, but this knowledge is denied as long as we cling to the bodily identification.
In the scriptures, it is said that as long as we are in this body, In this bodily conception of life, all our activities will be defeated. A child is born into ignorance, and if as he grows older, he remains under the bodily conception of life. He lives in darkness. His position is that of a Shudra. In the Vedic literatures, we find that in this age, everyone is born a Shudra. Therefore, everyone requires to be educated as to his real identity. If, however, we remain satisfied with our birth by our father and mother, we will remain in a condition as Shudra. We have to rise to the Brahminical platform by following the purificatory processes.
As mentioned before, there are four basic characteristics of an impure life: illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. According to the Vedic principle, sex should not be indulged in outside of marriage. In human society, there is therefore a system of marriage which distinguishes us from the cats and dogs. Whether we are Hindu, Muslim, or Christian, we acknowledge the system of marriage. The purpose of this system is to avoid illicit sex. According to Vedic system, intoxication is also discouraged, nor is meat eating advocated. For human beings should be non-violent. We have been given sufficient grains, fruits, milk, and vegetables, and there is no necessity to kill poor animals. Some people argue that if we do not eat meat, we will be undernourished. But we can see that the students of this Krishna consciousness movement have given up meat and are very healthy, whereas people who are eating meat are still, despite their meat eating, subject to the so many diseases and unhealthy conditions. Gambling is also discouraged because it simply agitates the mind.
This then is a purificatory process by which one can become a Brahmana. This path is open to everyone. A Brahman is one who is truthful and pure, tolerant and simple, full of knowledge and faith in God. He can control his mind and his senses also. At the present moment, there is a great necessity for Brahmanas because almost everyone is a Shudra. For almost everyone is wholly engaged in maintaining the body, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending all symptoms of animals and Shudras. Society cannot be peaceful unless there are four divisions of human beings functioning in harmony with one another. These four divisions are comprised of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. These are discussed by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita in this way. चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टं गुणकर्म विभागशः तस्य कर्तारमपि मां विद्य कर्तारमव्ययम्. According to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society were created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable.
These four divisions of man in human society are natural, not artificial, because in the material world everything is operating under influence of the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. As long as we are in this material world, it is not possible to classify everyone in the same category, because each and every person is working under the influence of modes of material nature. However, when we transcend the material platform, there is oneness. At that time, all the divisions fall apart. The question is therefore how to transcend the modes of material nature. And that transcendence is the very process of Krishna consciousness. As long as as soon as we become situated in Krishna consciousness, we become transcendental to the modes of material nature. Mam cha yobhya vicharena bhakti yogena sevate सगुणान् samati brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the mode of material nature and thus come to the level of Brahma.
Thus, one who is engaged in Krishna conscious activity is at once elevated to the transcendental position. By nature, we are not matter but Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi. The philosophy of Shankaracharya is mainly based on the principle that we should not think that we are products of his material nature. It is by some unfortunate accident that we are in contact with material nature. Actually, our nature is that of spirit, Brahma, and that nature has to be invoked. This material life is a disease condition. When we are situated in Brahma, we are in our healthy condition. That healthy Brahma condition is immediately attained as soon as we engage ourselves 100% in Krishna consciousness and in 6 now.
So we'll end the session here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama,